Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. And this is a reply to a very interesting video, and it's by Phil Hellenis, I think his name is, and it looks like he is an atheist, or supposedly looks like it. I'll go get kind of fast to it actually. We started a very interesting point, and I will agree with you in, let's say, a certain small percentage. I would say maybe 15%, and mainly the fact that yes, some people from the Islamic faith very zealously really distort a lot of things in the Qur'an, and they try to use it as certain scientific proof, such as whatever you say. I mean, I never heard about the guitar thing, but that's ridiculous if anyone would do that. In terms of other things, you said certain, and I want to quote, you said that, the Muslims look at their status right now and how they are right now, and that they haven't come up with any kind of scientific miracle or scientific, inventions, except, they take things from the West. Right, so you say here, let us hear.
So unarguable as to be considered proof, why did these claims only begin to appear so recently? One would have thought having a book containing scientific miracles would have been a powerful advantage to any competent civilization. Yet the technology in Muslim countries today is almost exclusively purchased or copied from the non-Islamic world. One would have thought, with the aid of the Qur'an, a book supposedly jam-packed full of medical, biological, geological and cosmic...
Well, biological, yes. Medical, there's only one medical thing in the Quran, and it shows that you're kind of ignorant about the Quran, and most people are when they do these attacks. By the way, I'm a graduate of science, of the Faculty of Science, and so just kind of, that, because you said that a lot of the youth today have no clue about science, history, and stuff like that, so just to kind of give my my background there. Well, it shows that you're ignorant. You try to be, from what I see, rational and argumentative. Yet to that there is proof, right? Science requires proof. We are taught that we need unbiased and deep proof when you argue your point, which you have not. You tend to swear a bit, not in any horribly bad words, but you tend to insult. You insulted Maurice Bucaille, you used some certain words which show that you're frustrated with something. I'm not sure, my other degree is in psychology, so I can kind of sense that there is some kind of frustration from you, which I kind of would agree with you. Maybe you had a bad, experience with Islam or something, and definitely some of the things I said that I agree with you are there, that some people make some extremist, claims. Yet it seems that you're uneducated on Islam and on the history of Islam, and you said that if the Quran would be having so much science in it and so many advancement things, and I said medical thing is only one. It talks about honey, and it says that in honey there is a cure. That's the only verse in Surah Nahl, this is the B, that talks about anything to do with medicine, and no one would ever argue to the fact that in honey there is a cure. In terms of the Islamic world today not being able to have any kind of scientific improvements, well, I don't think that's relevant to what the Quran has in it, right? I think you're kind of your philosophy and your logic that you're trying to prove is kind of flawed. Just because there's science in the Quran doesn't mean that the Muslims of today have to be up to it, right? It's if there's good math in a book, doesn't mean that the people who possess that book are good mathematicians. Okay, it all depends on the amount of work that the people are willing to put to study and to improve, and also the conditions that they're living in, whether they have the ability. A PhD student cannot do a research unless he has a lab, right? Unless it's some kind of very weak research or interviews or observations, right? But to do an actual experiment, a physical or chemical experiment, you need a lab. So Muslims would not be able to do things without a lab. Today they don't have a lab in terms of like look at Palestine, look at other places where they're living in, and they're not being able to come up with their own things. But if we look, for example, at NASA, the amount of Muslims that are working, look at other organizations where they do have a lab, an environment to work in, the Muslims are bringing the contributions. It's very, very high scientists are Muslims. If you go through universities in the world, check the faculty of engineering. How many scientists are Muslim? Check the faculty of chemistry and so on, and see how many people who are doing their PhD and so on studies are Muslims. And you find it's the overwhelming majority. Okay, for the, you also claim that there's really nothing towards the Muslims. Show us, the Einsteins, show us the Newtons, show us so on and so forth. If there is science in the Quran, they must have come with something. Yet it seems like you talked about history in the beginning, yet it seems like you don't have knowledge of history. You don't have knowledge of what happened in Al-Andalus, which is Spain, Muslim Spain, the technological advancements that the Muslim had, the hospitals that the Muslims built. And it's not knowledge they stole from the Greeks. You have to back that up. The Greeks believe that the sky is on pillars. The Greek believes certain weird aspects of life, about, for example, that there's a homunculus, which is when the baby is being born, right, or the baby's inside. It's actually a small human that's contained in the sperm. That drop of sperm, there's a small human that actually grows. These are some of the beliefs that, in terms of embryology, that they believe. But when we look at the Quran, the Quran describes the nutfa, the Quran describes the alaqa, the something that clinges. The Quran describes mudgha, the something that is chew-like substance or leech-like substance, which all these things resemble the embryo and are very advanced, and I would say very descriptive if you actually go and study these things. Yet the Greeks were making, the claim of the homunculus, the small little man that, gets nurtured and just grows. Basically, you have a little me inside, a sperm drop, and it just grows. Alright, so this is ludicrous. You have to actually back up your proof. I want to point everyone to go to a site called, or Google it, 1001 Inventions. Okay, this is a full site with 1001 contributions of the Muslims in history when the Europeans were in the Dark Ages, eating their own nails and eating rats on the shores of Sena in France. The Muslims were living on paved roads with libraries, public washrooms, filtration systems, and so on and so forth. Some things they invented, some things they innovated. That makes a great mind. What was the driving force behind this? What was the driving force behind them being the first one to perform cataract removal operations from the eyes? Who came up with the C-section? Who came up with many other things, that the lenses and so on and so forth? Who developed the numbers, the concept of zero, the pen, who developed the clock, and so on and so forth, maps of the skies, and so on and so forth. So go to 1001 Inventions, check it out. Don't let me speak. Look at this. It's a collaboration between Muslim and non-Muslims. Further on, Muslim chemist Jabr ibn Hayyan, distillation, crystallization, calcination, all these things were invented by him. Chemical substance like the alkyne, the salts of mercury, isolated by Jabr. You can keep going on and on and on. This is only one guy, Jabr ibn Hayyan, in the 8th century. Food and drinks, coffee, produced by Khalid in Kaffa in Ethiopia in the 9th century. I mean, I can keep going and going and going. Just go and actual research. Okay, you have to do your research. That's the whole part about proving something, make an argument in the scientific society. You need to come up with your proof. You can't just claim something. You didn't give us anything except your frustration there. Okay, just the fact that the Muslims are not coming up with nothing today does not prove anything. Okay, your reasoning is faulty. Right, the Muslims are in a bad state today. They're not what they used to be. Yet, if we look into the history that you claim that people don't know, which you yourself don't know, we find that the Muslims were flourishing. Why? Right, the first word that was revealed in the Quran was Iqra, read. Okay, and all scholars of the tafsir interpret that as a commandment of Allah the Almighty to humanity to search. And that's what, if you look into the history, the tafsir, the explanations, that those scholars and those people at that time were driven just by this one word to study, to research. Okay, in a place and time where people were killing each other, where people burying their own daughters alive, this light came and saved people. This light came and brought within 100 years they reached the walls of China, brought an empire where the only passport you would have to say is Salam, peace be with you, where you could write a check in Medina and cash it in China. Where else? Where else? I mean, I can keep going. Just make a research. Anyone who's, fair-minded, make a research to see if this guy's claims are true. I'm not saying, now on the topic of Maurice Bukai, why did he not become Muslim? Well, simple. I don't think he did become Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God the Almighty, just has his wisdoms. Do you think people would actually believe him that much? They would say, look, he's Muslim, he's a biased person, right? Many people have written very good about Islam, very nice things about Islam. They did not become Muslim.